Another Bengals moment with Mo Egger.
All right, welcome in. It is the Thanksgiving week edition of your Bengals Moment on 700WLW.com and ESPN 1530.com. The Bengals coming off their second straight loss, a 31-24 defeat at the hands of the Baltimore Ravens, a loss that has put the Bengals behind both Baltimore and Pittsburgh in the AFC North as we get ready for the final 6 games of the season, beginning with a matchup on Sunday against the Browns at Paul Brown Stadium. It is, are you ready for it? 4-down territory. All right, so I get it. We like this team. We like the direction they're going in. We're optimistic about the future. They're 6-4. We didn't think they'd be 6-4. They've got a great chance to make the playoffs, all those sort of things. And yes, it's a young team. Mistakes are part of the process. Losses are part of the process. But it doesn't mean we don't talk about those mistakes that led to the loss. And it doesn't mean we don't talk about Andy Dalton's miscues either. We love Andy. Dude looks the part. 373 in the air against the Ravens, and he did help lead the team back to pull them within a touchdown. At the same time, his mistakes on Sunday made me want to punch myself in the face. 3 interceptions, awful decision-making, and some balls that, quite frankly, I don't expect to see from Andy Dalton. He's been that good so far. That's got to be corrected soon if this team is going to beat the teams they have to get to the playoffs. I had a mistake with the overall offensive philosophy. I thought at times it didn't play to what Andy Dalton does well. A little too many deep sideline routes. I didn't understand the play that called for Bernard Scott to throw a football. Let's master the simple before we get to the complex. I never want to see Bernard Scott throw a football ever again. And the running game continues to really frustrate. Cedric Benson, just 2.7 yards a rush against Baltimore. Stagnant, doesn't help. Defensively, I know Leon Hall's not there. You got to get more of a pass rush. This team didn't against Joe Flacco. They missed tackles, and there were coverage mistakes, namely Ray Maualuga on Anquan Bolden, and this team simply cannot afford, against anybody, to give up the chunk plays it did against the Ravens. That's got to be fixed, and it's got to be fixed soon. So the play everybody's talking about is the Jermaine Gresham touchdown that wasn't a touchdown. And I understand the letter of the rule. I understand the spirit of the rule. For me, though, it simply comes down to this. Jermaine Gresham might not have completed the act of making a catch, but he completed the act of scoring a touchdown. The ball is inbounds over the goal line, and he's holding it. He's got control of it. That should trump anything else. I understand the rule. It got overturned. I get it. That rule has to be changed. Only because pretty hardcore football fans like myself are starting to not understand what does and does not constitute a catch. That's not good. More than anything, you don't want confusion among your fans. You don't want confusion among your players and coaches. You don't want confusion over something that should be relatively simple, namely what a catch is. It's not sour grapes. I understand. That's not why the Bengals lost, and Jermaine could have caught the ball cleanly and eliminated any doubt. But that rule has to be changed, hopefully by 2012. All right, let's be fair. Last week we wondered about Jerome Simpson and his disappearing act against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and we criticized him a little bit. Look, this team needs Jerome Simpson to do more, and they cannot afford for him to go away for large stretches of games or even entire games. Especially with A.J. Green out, they needed Jerome Simpson to play big, and Jerome Simpson did just that. Here's what I like most about him. Instead of responding to the criticism with his mouth or with a tweet, he responded with his play. 8 catches, 152 yards speaks loudly. Now you can't help but think about what this offense could look like when you add A.J. Green to the mix, with Jerome Simpson playing anywhere close to as well as he did against Baltimore. Makes it really hard to stop this team. Good for Jerome for responding. Now number 89, do it again against Cleveland. All right, so with the loss in Baltimore, the Bengals are now 6-4 and trail both the Ravens and Steelers by a game in the AFC North. And I'll be honest with you, it is really hard to imagine the Bengals winning the division. Neither Baltimore or Pittsburgh have exceptionally tough schedules the rest of the way. The Ravens do have San Francisco this week. The Steelers play them later on in the season, and both play the Bengals again, including Pittsburgh hosting the Bengals a week from Sunday. I still think that's going to be really hard for the Bengals to overcome both head-to-head losses and leapfrog 2 teams in the division. That said, I like where this team is heading into the final 6 weeks. They've got a game lead in the overall AFC playoff picture, a game lead over Buffalo, game lead over the Jets, Tennessee, and Denver as well. They've got a head-to-head win over Buffalo. That team is sliding. The New York Jets can't get any kind of consistent offense going up until their meltdown against Denver, which granted was played in a tough set of circumstances from a scheduling perspective. It's hard to imagine that offense getting to a point where it can get the Jets, let's say, 5 wins in their final 6 games. Denver, look, I like the Tim Tebow story as much as anybody, and they do have a head-to-head win over the Bengals. But are you really buying that team to continue to pull out the kind of wins it's been pulling out recently? I don't. And Tennessee, they just don't pass the test. They're 5-5. Hasselbeck's got a shoulder injury. If the Bengals take care of business against the crap teams on their schedule, and there's plenty of them starting on Sunday with a matchup against the Browns, they should be okay. Simply break it down. Let's say they lose to Baltimore and Pittsburgh. And by the way, I will gladly take this Bengals team against the Ravens on the final day of the season. But let's take those 2 games and assume the Bengals lose them. This team has done one thing really well this year. With the exception of the game against Denver in Week 2, they've taken care of business against teams they should beat. With no Matt Schaub, the Bengals should beat the Texans. They should beat the Cardinals and the Rams. And yes, this week at home against the Browns, they should pick up win number 7. So, win the 4 games against bad teams, lose the other 2. This team's 10-6, and I think they're going to make the playoffs at that point. And you never know. Maybe they go to Pittsburgh and grab an upset. Maybe when the Ravens come here at the end of the season, it means so much more to both teams, and the Bengals finally figure out a way to win a game like the one they lost on Sunday. Disappointed with the loss, would rather win the division. Hope is not lost in that regard, but I really like where this team is in terms of getting to the postseason. And it would be a remarkable accomplishment. Regardless of the schedule, it would be a remarkable accomplishment for the Cincinnati Bengals to be playing in the playoffs this year. Have a great Thanksgiving. Email me, mo@espn1530.com, or shoot me a tweet at moegger1530, and hooday!